Hello and welcome to Fergie's Gum. My name's Nathan and I'm joined as always by my good friend Ahmad.
Hi Nathan, how are you?
I'm good. You're not though.
Yeah,
You're sick. You've been sick, haven't you?
yeah. I think I caught the flu that's been going around for the past 2 weeks. Uh, yeah, that's why we couldn't do the podcast yesterday after the game.
Correct. But you still played more football in 2025 than Luke Shaw, so there is that, mate. So don't worry about it. But we're still I'm still on a high from the result on Sunday. Obviously, Manchester United beat Arsenal in the FA Cup at the Emirates on penalties, and I was just excited and happy about the performance more than anything. I think I messaged you and said we'll probably lose this game, but the performance means everything to me because they just really dug in with 10 men. But what did you think about it?
Yeah, I think so. I felt that we continued what we were doing against Liverpool. The positive signs that we've been seeing when we were going away to the big teams. I think we saw more of that against Arsenal as well. Um, And yeah, even though it felt like we were playing against 12 men, we still managed to to yeah to knock them out.
I mean, let's talk about that. Some of the decisions that were happening in the first half from the referee were unreal. I mean, how did Bruno manage to foul himself when he was like, through on goal and he just never got it? The dive from Havertz as well. I've seen them give it. I understand that, but it was a clear dive. He also grabbed Ugarte by the throat, and nothing happened to him. I know Ugarte put him to the floor afterwards, but it was like it really did feel like he was their 12th man, and it was ridiculous. It was funny though because Arteta came out after the game and said that the referee gave us everything, which was
Uh,
bizarre. But I
Honestly,
mean, away
whatever Arteta
from
says, like I take everything Arteta says, like just I don't take it seriously, to be honest.
Well, I mean, the fan base wanted him out straight away. After that game, they were already screaming for his head. They wanted him out straight away because they can't believe no one really gave us a chance for that game. I think my confidence increased slightly after the Liverpool performance, thinking we can carry that into Arsenal, then something good could happen. We could maybe come away with a decent result or at least a good performance again. That was the bare minimum that we wanted. But no one really gave us a chance. Arsenal fans knew that or expected that they was going to roll us over because we've not had a great time when we've been visiting the Emirates. And it was, very short of confidence side that have been in and out of good and poor form, mostly poor form over the last 4 or 5 weeks. And then they really dug in to get that victory over the line. Dallo did not help. Obviously, your favourite player, he didn't
Yeah,
help with his reckless challenges. And I mean, you can't even defend either of those challenges really. Especially the second one. If you're on a yellow, please don't dive in like that. Come on, mate.
yeah.
But
Even though he didn't touch him,
it,
but it was a foul.
I know it's the intent though. As soon as you leave the floor, it's like that's it. You're making it easy for the referee. But despite that, the defensive performance from the likes of Martinez, Maguire, Delit, Bayindir, who we'll talk about more later, and Ugarte, Mainu, everyone really, really did put in that low block that we're so used to getting outdone by. And we really put in a defensive performance. And not just that, but when we did go forward as well, you could see Amarim's ideas about you've got to get back as well. And every single player to a man was fighting to get back as much as they could, to cover as much ground as they could. And I didn't feel like we were in that much trouble. They kept floating balls into the box, and Declan Rice had one where he had it straight at Bendir. But I don't know. I felt pretty confident throughout that second half.
I agree. I agree. I think, like you said, we've been seeing more defensive solidity for the past few games. I think it helps that we've had a consistent back three playing together more. So Maguire, Delict, Martinez, and of course Delo and Mazraoui, they've been playing together with Ugarte. So when you have this like consistent back five, six who play together, of course you're gonna build more solidity going forward. Um, but yeah, to be honest, I wasn't feeling really good about Bindier starting, especially after what we saw against Spurs.
Yeah,
But
me
yeah, I
neither.
guess
Me neither.
he surprised everyone. To be honest, he, I still don't think he's at that level. To be honest, like any goalkeeper can have that one-off game. His distribution needs working on. It's not like he kept on kicking the ball to Arsenal or to out of play. But in terms of saves, yeah, he had one of those games, and yeah, we needed that because, like you said, Arsenal did have chances, but it did feel that yeah, we're gonna get something out of this game, even though we were playing on the back foot for the majority of the game. Um, Sometimes going a man down it helps. I feel uh, in terms of how like the shift in mentality of the players on the field. They start running more. They cover ground more. They're more determined. No one's as complacent. So maybe that did help. But still, it was very impressive. It was very impressive. I really like what we were seeing from the team and from Amram. Even his changes, his substitutions, all of them were very very good.
Yeah.
Very very good timing as well. Everyone put a shift in. So yeah, just you get the sense that there's this unity building more and more.
I think that's it. I think even when you look at how Bayern was like pressed to the front of the away fans, I think Bruno was the one that was kind of like pushing him forward and pointing at him, like, after the game, obviously. You all wanted him out, including us. We talked about like selling him when we did that feature a couple of weeks ago on the podcast. We talked about him not being good enough, but as you say, he had one great game. But what a game! Like, I just park the consistency side of things for a second, but the penalty save was right in the corner, and he's a big lad, and he got down well to get that. And the save from Declan Rice, whether it's at him or not, he had to save it. And there was a few times in the second half where he just came up big, and they tried to target him. Man, their set piece stuff is boring. Oh my god! I know it worked against us the last time in the league, but it takes so long to deliver those things. Now it's like watching like an industrial side like Wimbledon back in the
Yeah,
'80s and '90s.
it's like Stoke.
But then,
Honestly, it's like
yeah,
Stoke.
exactly, yeah. And they'd hate that comparison because obviously they have that needle with Stoke after Ramsey got his leg broken by Ryan Shawcross, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah,
But Bayern, even when they was throwing the corners in, and they were clearly targeting him and trying to upset him, I thought he did okay in the second half for sure. And I'm just so happy that he managed to save that penalty from Havertz.
yeah.
So happy about that. And I'm so happy that he was the hero. And another player that I'm absolutely delighted for, or two players I'm delighted for, Bruno, because he's been great in the past two games. And what a goal that was. What a absolutely majestic first time hit that was to bend it around into the far corner. Superb. And Xerxes, not only because of the fairy tale ending, but when he came on, I thought he actually played okay. I thought he played with confidence. I felt he played with all of those things that we said that he wasn't. The target man, his touch was bad, no confidence to shoot. All of these things just seemed to dissipate in this game where he managed two nutmegs. I think it was on Gabriel both times, right? Or
And
was it
Saliba,
Saliba? That he did him twice. And it
Saliba,
was
yeah,
that kind of, I don't know if it was because the pressure was off because they were underdogs and that's how he reacts in that type of way. But I thought Xerxes played well during his cameo. And I think all of them did. I don't think there was a player that had a bad game on the pitch. Even Davo, before he went off, was still doing a job. Stupidly got sent off, but he was still doing a job. And Yeah, I can't fault it. But the big thing now is going into the Southampton game, because now what do we do against a team that isn't going to attack us so freely as Liverpool and Arsenal? They're going to sit in, and it's going to be roles reversed. We're going to have to break them down because they're going to go low block. Has
Yeah.
Amarim got something special to take on Southampton on Thursday? I know we'll talk about it more, but that's going to be one of the key things to look out for.
This is like what we're gonna look for in terms of mentality, because we've said it multiple times that it's easy for the players to pick themselves up, to get motivated for these big games, especially away. But it's all good, but it counts more when you're playing at home against one of the lower sides. That's when you actually have to pick yourself up and perform, especially when a side that's struggling, fighting relegation, they're gonna come, like you said, sit deep, low block. This is when you're gonna have to find something from within for 90 minutes. For example, if you don't score in the first half, you have to keep on pushing. You have to keep on, I don't know, just like peppering their goal with shots, with crosses until you score. And we've seen multiple times with this team, with this bunch of players, that this is when they fall short when they're playing against one of the lower sides. So yeah, I'm sure everyone is
Even the
excited.
win against Southampton when we beat them earlier on
Yeah,
in the season, we went behind and then we
exactly.
conceded a penalty,
No,
which we were
we
just
didn't go
lucky to get
behind,
away
but like,
with.
yeah, it
Oh,
was.
sorry, yes, yeah, we conceded was it a penalty? It
Yeah, it
was,
was a
wasn't it?
penalty.
And Onana
Yeah,
saved it. Yeah,
could have gone either way. If they scored, we might have not won that game. But again, that's maybe under Ten Hag, so we can't really judge. But under Amram, we've seen that, yeah, like against Forest, against Bournemouth at home. I don't remember the last time we won at home. We lost against Forest, Bournemouth, Newcastle. Maybe our only league win was against Everton.
Everton. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
you might be
that's a
right.
long time
Yeah,
ago.
yeah,
So yeah,
and
that's
again, we'll talk more about the Southampton game a bit later on. But yeah, we need to start picking up wins now. Like, these performances are good, but they need to be matched with actual points as well. Progression in the FA Cup is fantastic. We're the defending champions of the FA Cup, but we need to move into those games against Southampton. I think it's Southampton, Brighton, and possibly West Ham that we play at home. But I think we've got 3 on the trot in the league, and we need to start winning games. We really do need to start winning games. But the signs from Liverpool, from this Arsenal game at the weekend, the signs are promising, and it looks like they're all starting to get this idea what Amarim's trying to push across. He preached to us for a long time about he needs more time to work with them, not a match every couple of days, every 3 days, whatever it was. And that we do seem to be that idea does seem to be bearing fruit now, because they're running, they're in their positions where they need to be, they're defensively more solid than they have been for a long time. And again, if he wasn't as confident in them being able to do that on the training pitch and showing that they can be compact and that they can defend well with those 3 at the back, surely he would have played Onana over Bayern if he wasn't confident in them being able to keep it tight.
yeah, I agree. I don't wanna be negative. I hate being negative. I know sometimes I do sound like
But
that.
but
Yeah, but like I still think we have an issue with scoring goals. I still think so.
mm,
I don't think either one of the strikers. I really hope both of them come good. I don't see Hoyland getting into form anytime soon against Arsenal. He had a stinker again. 80 minutes, trampoline touch, couldn't hold up the play, couldn't do anything. I don't know. Xerxes, I hope that he starts gaining confidence. Maybe he starts Southampton. Maybe he scores. I don't know. But I still feel we lack players that score goals. The only ones I can think of are Bruno and Ahmad, and even them,
yeah,
they're not that consistent. And I think when it comes to these games against smaller teams, like with all due respect, like lower teams, then yeah, that's when you need the players that actually just they score, like strikers, or I don't know, like Bruno has to score. If Bruno doesn't score, then I don't see where the goals are coming from. So Yeah, I think we might
Well,
struggle with
that
that.
that takes us neatly into the next section where we're about to talk about the incomings and outgoings of the January transfer window. Okay, the January transfer window is still open, and I was about to say that Manchester United haven't signed anyone yet, but they've confirmed Diego Leon. He was in Manchester this week, I think, or last week. So he's in the country. I think it's all finalised now. We haven't had an official picture of him with the kit, with Wilcox, have we? Or have I
No, no,
missed it?
no,
No, okay.
nothing. Just he took
So
pictures with the players when he was having his medical last night.
correct. Okay. Okay. So yeah, he's still one of the ones that's coming in. But who's going out? I think there's a few obvious candidates at the moment, and the rumours are getting hotter and hotter. But we've got, I think the Rashford thing is coming to a natural conclusion. There is apparently an official approach coming from AC Milan at some point soon. Dortmund apparently want to come for him as well because obviously it worked out so well with Sancho last time. And there's a couple of teams in the Premier League that want on loan for Rashford as well. And I don't know which of those do you think is most likely to happen?
I can't see him going to another club in the Premier League, especially because we have offers from clubs abroad. I think the AC Milan thing has been going on for the longest. Even Zlatan, he came out and he spoke about it. So yeah, I feel there's something to that. A few days ago, we heard Barcelona were interested from reliable sources, but yeah, I haven't heard anything since. So I think that, like you said, the most likely thing is AC Milan.
I think there's an issue that I was listening to. Who was it? Was it David Ornstein? I think it was David Ornstein, and on the Talk of the Devils podcast as well from the Athletic, they was talking about AC Milan could only sign one of Kyle Walker or Marcus Rashford. So it's wherever their biggest needs are at the moment, and obviously they have Rafael Leao. Is that his name? Yeah,
Yeah,
Leao. He plays in the same position, plays on the left. So it'll be difficult for them to kind of make that decision, but they don't have the finances to be able to take care of his salary because it's a lot, it's like 12 million a year or something like that. Same goes for Dortmund. They're trying to get a deal over the line with regards to the similar type of thing with what happened with Sancho. They want that long-term loan. Again, it will come down to how much Manchester United want to pay towards his salary. And you can imagine Ratcliffe and Co are reluctant to pay anything towards his salary. They want him off the books so that they can maybe possibly make some transfers this season. Oh, sorry, this window. So I don't know. It's one to keep your eye on. Obviously, I think Rashford will end up leaving eventually. Um, Other players that were on there again that are on the rumour mill. Casemiro, he was Collier came on again, who I thought played well against Arsenal when he came on. He did his job well. Yeah, he knew what he had to do. He was chosen or picked over Casemiro to come off the bench against Arsenal, which kind of tells you what Amorim's long-term plans are. So I think every man and their dog knows that Casemiro is going to leave at some point, whether it's this window or January or in the summer. But it's kind of a bit of a sad demise. But where can you see him going, Casemiro?
I can't see him going anywhere except for the Saudi League. Yeah, I
But
think
they
that
but
makes
they
more
keep
sense.
coming out every time they get mentioned, like Laurie Whitwell and Ornstein and all of these people that are well within the footballing circles. They keep saying, we've spoke to a few people at teams in Saudi, and it's not a case that they're chasing him. And there's no hint of it either, when usually they're given a bit of a tip off that there might be some interest and they can sell it like that. But every single time they've said, no, it's not happening. And I
Yeah,
think, like everywhere else, maybe the SPL, not Scottish Premier League, but the Saudi Pro League, they might be cutting back on their signings as well. They might not see that value in Casemiro that he might have had a few years ago. He might not be that big name that they want to get on their books straight away. So I don't know. It's a weird one with Casemiro.
I think it's his salary demands, to be honest. I think we pay him way too much at United as usual, overpaying players, even like players
Yeah.
with in the higher age group. So yeah, I think no one's willing to pay 350,000 a week for someone who's above 33 or something like that. So that would make sense. I think the only way he leaves is if he lowers his demands, and yeah, I think even United they wouldn't mind just getting him off the books without receiving like a high transfer fee. So yeah, Casemiro, also Ericsson, same issue. I think they're just happy to sit on the bench. Yeah, getting their paycheck. They're not that bothered. They had long careers, so yeah, I don't blame them, to be honest. But yeah, I think we should start trying to offload players, especially those.
There was one surprise one that you sent me this morning. Garnacho, linked with a move to Napoli to replace the Georgian guy whose name I can never pronounce.
Yeah, yeah. It would make sense. It makes sense, to be honest. They're getting a good fee for.
I thought you was going to attempt to do his name. I thought you did it. Yes, there we go. But
no,
yeah,
yeah,
I don't know if I don't know if I'm ready to say goodbye to Garnacho yet as well.
yeah,
Like
same. Me too, to be honest.
I don't. As I said to you before, it's over 4,000 games I think consecutively that we've had an academy player in the starting. In the squad, first team squad for match day. 4,000 games plus that's run on for. No other team has got that. It doesn't happen anywhere else. But if he leaves, if Rashford leaves, as I said to you before, we're reliant on Collier and Mainu playing pretty much every other week.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd manage not to break that cycle. To be honest, we've seen Kokonki on the bench multiple times. We could start seeing, for example, Chido Obi. I mean, I don't think that they're gonna look at that as a reason for them not to sell, because they're looking for money however they can get it. The prices that are being quoted for Garnacho, £50 million plus, as pure profit in the financial state that we're in. Yeah, I think they're not gonna like they're gonna consider it. That's for sure. 100% they're gonna consider it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any sentiments about it when you've got Ratcliffe in charge and he just wants to see a profit, basically. But then, like, what is football without actually caring about the players that you've got? If they're just a one and a zero on a spreadsheet, like, what's the point? As a fan, you watch the team just get torn apart for what? For profit and sustainability after the Glazers have absolutely ruined the club. I don't know. It makes me sad, like, to think that players like that, like Rashford as well, that they could just be sold like, yeah, that's it, academy products, pure profit, gone, bye. Just
I mean,
makes me a bit upset.
I feel it would create a bigger issue if it was Meno who was being sold. Even that, we're hearing rumors that we'd consider bids, which is crazy, to be honest. Garnacho, I'd get it because
Yeah,
like he's from Argentina. He's like he eventually you feel he's gonna move. You don't feel he would stay his whole career at United. He's not like a local boy like Meno, like Rashford. Um, but yeah, like, and also the system that Amorim wants to place Garnacho doesn't seem to fit. He's been doing well the past few games, but still, like, you feel Amorim wants something else from those positions. So yeah, that's why I can see it happening. Why not now? Like, I don't think we should do it in January unless we have someone else to bring in his place, because we're already very very light up top. Losing Garnacho, losing Rashford without replacing them, And to be honest, it doesn't seem like we have anything going right now in terms of
Yeah.
players coming in. We've seen
Mm.
reports last night about Nene Dorgelis, I think his name
Oh,
is.
I'm gonna get to the incomings soon. I'm still going through the potential outgoings at the moment, but yeah,
Is there
I'll
anyone?
get to the incomings. There's a couple. There's a couple that we could talk about. But obviously, all of these sales, when you talk about Garnacho going, when you talk about Casemiro getting his wage bill off the the club's finances, all of these need to take place before they can even consider signing someone. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be a new cleaner at Old Trafford. They need to get rid of people before they can bring someone else in. So that's why we're in this current situation where we're considering, oh, if we can get Rashford off the books and someone pays for his salary for the rest of the year, then that brings us back under the profit and sustainability laws, whatever it is. And then Casemiro, obviously, as you mentioned before, I don't think they'd request the fee for him. They try to recoup something, but if they could just get his wages off the books, I think that's more attractive for them if they could just get him out there. But then there's other players as well that have been linked with exits, including Anthony. Real Betis and Olympiacos have been touted as possible destinations for him. Again, I don't know if that would be a loan, considering his salary, but players like this that don't seem to have a future at the club, your Christian
Honestly,
Eriksen's as well,
I forgot he
they need
plays
to
for
go.
us.
Yeah, I think
Honestly,
Amarin
that's
did
why.
as well.
Yeah,
I think Amarin did. And then the
but
last
it's
one, the
yeah,
sorry,
for
go on.
Anthony, like it's the same thing as as Casemiro, as Ericsson. They're getting overpaid, and no one else is gonna match the salaries. So they just
Yeah,
they sit it out and they wait it out, and yeah, they get their paychecks. So this is the issue that we have because of the Glazers and
you
their previous.
you're probably too young to remember this, but you've probably done a bit of research on it. But Winston Bogarde at Chelsea was the instigator behind the sitting on the bench and just taking your salary. He famously moved from Barcelona to Chelsea in the 90s, and he just it was like a famous thing that he would just do community stuff, like representing like an ambassador that hadn't actually retired but was part of Chelsea and was sucking up. I think at the time it was something like 50 grand a week, 35 grand a week. Having a lovely time. Why would you?
Yeah,
But he's the template for that now. So you always the Bogard effect is the term that's used for these players. But then, okay, so just going back to there's one last outgoing, and that was Malacia. There was talk of him possibly leaving on a permanent transfer back to the Eredivisie this season. How do you feel about that? Do you think it's too soon, or do you think he's not going to get back to that level that he was at originally?
honestly, I read that Como were interested in Serie A.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
yeah, I think we when we were talking about players that should stay or go in the podcast a few weeks back, I think Malasia, we said we don't feel like he was ever up to the level. Personally, I didn't feel he was ever up to the level, and after his injury, I don't think he's ever gonna be able to consistently play. So yeah, it would be smart for him to go to somewhere like Como or back to the Eredivisie. Yeah, and just build up his career, gain his confidence. He can still be
Yeah.
like a good player, but at United, even recently, he hasn't been getting minutes. He came on against Arsenal, but that's because we had to. But
Mm.
yeah, I can see him leaving. I can see him leaving. Maybe not now because we're already very short on wing backs.
Mm.
But in the summer, 100%, I can see him leaving.
So with the players going out, we can obviously turn to the players coming in. We talked about Diego Leon earlier. I think that's going to be announced. Might have even been announced now. Might be even breaking news going on right now as we're recording this podcast. But then there was Nene. Nene, go on. You finish his surname off, mate.
I'm assuming it's
Dog,
Dorgeles. Dorgeles?
Dogelis. I think it is, yeah. Nene
Yeah,
Dogelis,
something
who's
like that.
playing
Yeah.
for RB Salzburg. Always say Leipzig. He's
Yeah.
playing for Salzburg. And he kind of popped up from nowhere, but it seems to be one of those players that we've been tracking for a long time, or at least since, is it Vivel? The Christian Vivel? Is that the guy? Ever since he came in, he's looking for these talents that are around the world that people are they're doing well, but they're not getting the mainstream attention. And like everyone, I went onto YouTube and I watched his highlights reel because who knows anything about this teenager, and he looks good. He looks like, dare I say, like another Ahmad. His finishing seemed very comfortable. He seems good on left foot and right foot. He also seemed lightning fast as well. So he's already playing professional football in a professional league. He's not like he's hanging around in the reserves somewhere. So maybe that could be a transfer that we see. I think the rumor was either this window or in the summer, most likely the summer. But I thought he looked all right. What did you think of him, based on 4 minutes of Welcome to Manchester United YouTube clips?
I thought he looked good. Um, like you said, what I liked most was the fact that he can go right or left, which I think is very
Yeah.
important for a winger, especially. But I don't know. I just don't trust those clips anymore. After Anthony, after all the players that we got, I can't trust them.
The first one that got me, the show reel that wasn't the player that we ended up getting, was Anderson. When before he came to Manchester United, it
Yeah,
was it was tricks. It was a mini Ronaldinho, and then, well,
yeah.
it
No, he
wasn't
was
that.
good. He was
Still a
good.
good
Just
player. I love Anderson. I still
yeah,
love Anderson, but yeah, not
his
not the same guy.
injuries and his, I think, professionalism let him down. But in terms of like pure skills, yeah, Anderson was something else. But yeah, regarding Nene, I don't know. I told you, I think, on WhatsApp that he feels too lightweight for me. And if he
Yeah,
comes as a player, as his rotation, like squad rotation, maybe we bring someone else, and maybe he comes in sometimes. Okay, but selling Garnacho, selling Rashford, and bringing in him
yeah.
to depend on him,
I
no.
get it. Yeah, I get it. He seems like one for the future, or one that he could come in and make an impact now. But I think he would be playing second fiddle to Garnacho or Rashford if both of those
But
guys
I don't
start.
think he's that young. He's 22, I think.
Is he? I thought he was a teenager. I thought he was 19.
Mm, Let me just
No?
double check.
Go on, do your research, because I've not bothered, have I?
Yeah, he's 22.
He's 22. Forget it. He's past it, mate. Don't sign him. Don't sign him. Too old. Too old, if
Yeah.
anything. Shocking. Moving on to more robust performances and bigger international stars. The other two that have been linked, and again, these are rumours that seem to be heating up quite a lot, is Kolo Muani from PSG, who's been dropped from the squad, from the PSG squad, because the rumours of him going to United seem to be hotting up. And also Osimhen, simply because their Napoli's loudmouth president is keen to get him gone so that they can buy anyone and everyone and strengthen the team for Conte. But do you see any of those? So Kolo Muani or Osimhen, do you see either of those two happening in this window?
I don't see it happening, to be honest. I think Colomwani, I think he's gonna go Juve or Spurs even. Um, and Osimhen, no, I don't see it happening because they're gonna want a transfer fee, and yeah, I don't see us paying that much now in January. So yeah, I don't see any of them happening, to be honest.
Good. It's always nice to end the transfer roundup on a positive note. But we are going to talk about when we did used to sign players in the January window, when we do the top 5 January window signings in the next section. As we teased at the end of the last section, we're going to do our top 5 January signings for Manchester United. And I went through the list, and there's been quite a few. Some that I'd completely forgotten about. Um, there was, I think it was a Tunisian lad or a Moroccan lad that El Faturi. We signed him, and he came in with like a huge, I say huge, a moderately large expectation on him. And I don't know where he is now. I have no idea. But we're going to do our top five anyway. So I'm going to let you go first, and we'll go in ascending order. So we'll go from five to one.
Okay, I think
Descending order, ascending order, descending order. It's one or the other.
just
Five to one.
from 5 to 1. Uh, I think my number 5 is Luis Saha.
Okay.
So yeah, I think he was actually really good the first few seasons, but yeah, again injuries killed him. But in
Yeah.
terms of ability and like he had a decent career. He scored important goals for us. He was our penalty taker for a while, and yeah, like he was good. And it's unfortunate because I feel like we could have gotten way more out of him if it wasn't for the injuries. But yeah, even with the injuries, he was actually good.
I always remember Saha as having like one of the most incredible leaps for headers that I've ever seen. Like like defying gravity, getting up for headers, and it was always a joy to watch that. But he was a potent striker, and he was fantastic. And he is number five in mine as well. Although I've got him tied with, and you don't have to say whether he comes into the later list for you, but I've got him tied with Diallo because and now 6 months ago, he probably wouldn't have even been on this list. But he's starting to show his value now. And as it's a top five players from the January transfer window, I feel like he needs to be on that list at number five, tied with Louis Saha.
Yeah,
Do you
I can
agree?
see that happening. I mean, I'll wait until the end of the season before saying anything about
Okay.
Diallo.
Oh,
But
I thought you was going to say you wait until the end of your list because he's sat at
no,
number one. But
yeah, definitely not.
okay, number four then. Number four.
Number 4 for me is Mata or Mata.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, he was good. He was good. He had a good career at United. I think it was in a period maybe that we expected more of the team because of the players that we had, of the names that we had, the managers that we had, Mourinho, Van Gaal. Um, but even though I think Mata still had a decent career at United, he was very important for the trophies that we won, the FA Cup in 2016, the Europa League, the run-in. He was actually very good, and he played in the final. I think what went against Mata mostly was that we never had a position for him. Like
Yeah,
we couldn't play. We never played him in the 10, maybe a few games, and he couldn't play on the right. So it felt like yeah, he was just forced into the starting 11, but he was actually very good. I liked Mata.
Matto's at number four for me as well. And I was going to say that the issue that we had with him was that we didn't build a team around him. I think that's what we kind of needed. We needed a foil that was going to be sat next to him in midfield that gave him more freedom. But even without that, he was a tremendous player for United and a really good servant for us. Obviously, the scissor kick that he scored against Liverpool at Anfield was, a big a big goal that we'll always remember. And I just there's a lot of players post Ferguson that I feel like they could have had even more exceptional careers at United with more silverware, had the structure been correct, had the players around them been correct, and had, it wasn't such a scattergun approach to bringing in these players from, square pegs in round holes and stuff like that. And Mata was one of them that suffered, but even through it all, he still contributed. So I thought he did. I thought he did well, and that's why he gets to sit at number four. Who's at three for you?
3 for me is Bruno
Okay.
Fernandes. Uh, yeah, I think there's not. I don't need to say much about him. Definitely our best signing post Fergie. Um, and yeah, he gives us all for the club. His numbers are crazy. I think maybe we don't appreciate that now. Once he leaves or he retires, and we look back at the numbers that he's been producing, yeah, we're gonna realize that it wasn't easy what he's been doing, especially in the teams that he's been playing in. Um, and yeah, I think he falls under the category, like you said, of players that would have done way more if they were in a better structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, even with that uh, stability, he's been amazing. He pulled us through to top four multiple times. He's won trophies with us. He's been captain. Yeah, and I think he's one of those players that like we rarely have those players at United. We've rarely had them in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, like epitomize what a United player should be, and he's one of them. So
Mm.
yeah, Bruno is number 3 for me.
Bruno's number three. For three for me is Nemanja Vidic. So Vidic is at number three for me. Amazing impact, obviously, but I've got a feeling we'll end up talking about Vidic again shortly. So we'll leave it. But Vidic is at number three for me. Number two.
Evra, Patrice Evra,
Okay, so I
uh,
know who's at number one for you now. Then
for sure. Yeah, Patrice Evra again. Is I mean, like I put him number one as well. I think it's obvious who my number one is. Both of them are almost the same, but if I had to choose, just a personal preference. But Evra was, yeah, he was consistent. He was part of a team that was so dominant. He was a major part of that. One of the best left backs in Premier League history for sure. Uh, Probably top two in United's history, along with Dennis Irwin. So yeah, and like but towards the end of his career at United, he also started chipping in with important goals as well, which is surprising. Like he used to win headers from corners, even though he's not the tallest. But yeah, Evra was yeah, he was one of my favorites to be honest. I love Evra.
he lives in Dubai as well, and I sent you a message the other day saying that I saw the back of him as he was walking. I saw the front of him, but I didn't get my phone out in time to take a picture, so I just got a picture of the back of him. But yeah, he lives in Dubai. He's out and about. I've seen him posting that he plays football like with just like groups of lads. I think on the palm.
Yeah, we should get
So
him
he's
play with us.
yeah, he's about. So we'll get him on the podcast. We'll go and play football with him. Then we'll get him on the podcast, mate. But Evra for me is at number two. So it was Vidic, then Evra for me. And as you say, he got and still does get what United is. Like he still understands what it should be, and I think his positivity in everything that he does, you can see with Amarim, like since he's come in, he's a little bit more positive about Manchester United as well. So I think maybe he's got a sense for it. He's got a sense that there's about to be a corner's about to be turned, and so yeah. And he was a great player, just amazing. But do you remember just going back to Everett and Vidic? The, I mean, you was probably I don't even want to say how old you were at that time, but their debut
Yeah,
was an absolute catastrophe. And if you've never seen that their debut,
I have.
I'm fairly certain it was against City, right?
Yeah, it was City away. Yeah,
And we got smashed. And I was old enough to be watching it in the pub, and I was surrounded by my City supporting mates at the time as well. And it was, I mean, we have these. There's usually a wave of this binary response to players on social media now. And if social media was around at that time when they made their debut,
yeah.
they might not have had the careers that they did have at Old Trafford. But I remember like we were stood in the pub just absolutely gobsmacked, like, who have we bought here? Who are these guys? Like there's no way they're going to make it. And then lo and behold, a bit more time, they're two of United's best ever players. So can't really complain about that. So I think we know who your number one is, right? Unless you've gone completely left field and added in someone like Wilfred Zaha.
No, and I know who your number one is. Uh,
Go on then. Who's? Well, Vidic is yours,
Yeah, Vidic is
clearly.
mine, 100%.
Yeah, Vidic is yours. And then who's mine?
Bruno.
Of course. Of
Yeah,
course.
of course.
And
Why?
because of the impact that he's had, as you said before, he's played in crap teams, like really, really bad teams, badly organised, multiple managers. The impact that he's had has just been like, as you said before, we don't get players like that. It's not a regular thing. And he is definitely the epitome of one of those players that when he leaves, you look at the stats, you look at the numbers, you look at the games that he played, and that he rarely missed, the goals that he scored, the assists that he had, and you'd be like, wow, unreal, absolutely unreal. And I said this at the beginning of the season. For as much as we slate his captaincy credentials, and I still don't think he's perfect as a Manchester United captain. As much as we slate those things, he's done so much for the club, and I want him, desperate for him to win more silverware at United while he's still here, because he deserves it. He deserves to have a consistent setup, a consistent team around him. He deserves all the praise, and he deserves like all the silverware that you can possibly get. And I hope he does stay. I hope we don't get rid of him in the summer, as has been talked about like every now and again. I hope he does stay, and I hope Amrim does have a championship drive with this team next season. Well, with Manchester United this next season, but with different players.
I agree. Yeah, I get it. I get why you'd put Bruno first. I really, I agree with you. Like, I really hope we win a Premier League with him, or Europa League, at least a Europa League. He
Yeah,
deserves it, like you said. Like, and you mentioned the fact that he never misses any games, which is honestly, it's crazy. Like the way that
yeah.
he's built, the way he takes care of himself, and like the games he missed were because of illness, and maybe one game because of injury, which is crazy if you
Yeah.
think of it. So yeah,
So anyway, let's talk about Vidic though, because we talked
yeah.
enough about
My number one,
um, Bruno. Yeah,
Vidic is my number one. I don't th- I don't think we would have dominated the way we did the years in that period that he was there. We wouldn't have dominated if it wasn't for him. I'm not saying he was the main guy. Of course, like we needed everyone. Like we needed everyone, but he was such a major part of that. Um, in the Premier League, in the Champions League, you know how like now I'm just gonna give us a very small sample size. How, for example, just because it's recent and people would remember it more, how Ugarte, for
mm,
example, how he you feel his energy is contagious to the players around him.
yeah,
When players around him see him fighting, everyone starts they want to fight as well. When Lisandro first
mm,
came in, the same thing. Vidic did that for a longer period of time, times 10, and
mm.
he was no nonsense. He was an amazing, amazing centre back. One of the best to ever do it in the Premier League. One of the best to do it at United. A lot of people would have Vidic in their all time United starting lineup.
Mm.
Um, and he was captain.
Do you, can I ask you a question? Do you think you'd be a fan of the Diogo Dabo high five after every clearance?
Ugh, maybe that. Maybe because I grew up watching Vidic, that's why I just have this hatred for it, automatic hatred for it. Uh, the guy, he like a lot of players mentioned, he puts his head where other players are afraid to put their foot.
Yeah.
Um, he and let's not forget, a lot of people seem to forget that people talk about Van Dijk now, and I don't know, like whatever centre back you want to talk about nowadays, they forget that in their time they used to have to deal with strikers who were absolute bullies. They were bullies. If you
Yeah.
want to talk about Drogba, the battles they used to have. If you want to talk about Davies from Bolton, if you want to talk
Mm,
about I don't know who else was there, like any striker, Bent, like even Jermaine Defoe, like he was small, but he was one of those who keeps on slipping. But Vidic used to deal. I don't know. He was just brilliant. Like and he came up with some really 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 important goals when we were going for the title.
yeah.
The most recent one I can remember was 2010, 2011, playing against
Mm,
Chelsea at home. We had to win that game. Again, he scores. Yeah, it was just I don't know how many titles did he win. Like he won 3 in a row, and then won
Yeah,
again 2010, 2011, and then 2012, 2013. So that's 5 titles for him.
yeah.
So yeah, like, and he reached 3 Champions League finals with him like being very important to the team. I don't know, like
His only kryptonite seemed to be Fernando Torres. That
that's a
was that
myth.
was his.
That's a myth.
It's a myth. It's a myth. Here
That's a myth.
becomes the
Yeah,
Vidic historian. Here he is. He's got his facts.
that happened probably like I think Torres scored 2 or 3 goals against Vidic. Maybe just because Vidic got sent off twice. Yeah, he was prone to the red card. Even like so was Roy Keane, for example. But that doesn't take away anything from them. But yeah, no. People
I
should
think
look at
that's I
stats
think that's
before asking.
fair.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's fair, and I think that the top three could be very interchangeable. Like for
for
the
sure.
1, 2, and 3, I think they all had very big impacts. So yeah, it's a good list. So after the highs of Anfield and the highs of the Emirates, where we've drawn both of those games in regular time, it's time to put Southampton to the sword at Old Trafford on Thursday. That's what I'm saying anyway. If we don't get a result there, you can forget about those other two powerful performances that we had against top six contenders. But they're in terrible form at the moment, right?
Yeah, they're. I think they have 2 points from their last possible 36. So yeah,
Most. Oof.
I
But you
mean,
can see them like they will see this as like their FA Cup final, and if there's ever a time to go somewhere and try and get some points, it's probably Manchester United at home at the moment.
yeah, we've seen that multiple times. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't win. Maybe I can see it being like a boring 0-0, us struggling to break them down. Because, like I said, sometimes against those teams, you need a striker to come up with something, or maybe you have to score from a set piece or something just to break them down first. Then you can get the second or the third. But we seem to struggle sometimes with that. They have a new manager. He's been there for the past 4 games, I think. Um,
Juric.
Church, yeah. Uh, he's more pragmatic, I feel, than Russell Martin. So yeah, when Russell Martin was there, he could have said he's gonna play his way, playing out of the back, no matter what. But yeah, with him, I think he's more pragmatic, so he could make things tough for us.
Mate, I'm the complete opposite right now. I'm using the positivity of the Anfield result and the performance at the Emirates, and I'm saying Southampton are getting smashed on Thursday. Like I know that they put in a massive shift, and there's probably some of the players that might not make the first 11 because they were tired. But with that performance in mind, from those results, I know you said we haven't been getting the goals, but a team like Southampton, in the form that they're in, coming to Old Trafford, like we need to batter them, and I think we will. I think it'll be 3 or 4. Like I know what you're saying about like it could be 0-0, it could be a draw, but I can't see if it was Ten Hag, I would say this differently, but I can't see Amarim just not having a plan for that low block. I can't see it. I can't see him not having a plan for that low block. I think he'll see it. He'll make changes in the game. It might upset a few players, having to come off early, even in the first half. But he sees everything in the games that they're playing, and he reacts to them well. And I can't see anything other than a Man United win on Thursday. And that's as confident as I've been all season. But I just if you don't beat teams like Southampton comfortably at home, they're sitting at the bottom of the league. Then what are you doing? What are we in this for?
I
What are we
agree.
doing?
Uh, I think it's very important to I don't know, play Ahmad in the right wing back role or play Anthony there. Because yeah, we seem to struggle to score or create chances whenever we play five defenders at the back. Um, so yeah, against teams like this, you have to just, I don't know, just give up one defender. I think Dallo is going to be suspended anyways. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably we're going to see Malacia on the left, Masraoui on the right. But I don't know. Like I can see the game going in my head, and I can see us struggling, and the crowd getting tense, and yeah, just Southampton just defending for their lives. But I hope it's not the case.
So the way that I can see it playing out is that, as I said at the beginning of this section, I think Southampton will fancy it. I think they'll fancy it, and they need points. They're bottom of the league, and they're going down without a trace. So they need points. They can't come to Old Trafford and look for a nil-nil draw. I don't think it's possible for them. And I think they'll come out, and I think they'll have taken a look at United's recent form, and they might consider that they can get something out of the game. But it's going to be, as you said, Juric is more pragmatic, so there is that element of it that he might want to sit in with a low block. But I think they'll attack, and I think when they do attack, I think that's going to cost them, because I think that will end up with us counter attacking, breaking down the pitch. Hoyland gets his hat trick. Xerxes gets a hat trick. Who knows? It's going to be goals galore, mate. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. I can't see that, to be honest. It was going
Right.
fine until you said Hoyland hat trick.
It might be a hat trick of offsides, but I didn't say exactly what it was a hat trick of. Could be anything. Could be anything. But
uh,
it is one of those games. In all seriousness, it's one of those games where Manchester United have to win this. Amorim has to win this. It's not a case of the performances are getting better, but we haven't had the victories or the wins or the points. We have to get points, and we have to
yeah,
climb that table. Are we in 13th at the moment?
yeah.
Something like
I
that,
stopped. I
13th,
stopped checking, to be
14th.
honest. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
but I'm very confident that Amorim won't be avoiding that table, and they need to get wins, and he will lose his mind if they don't get a win at the weekend. He knows he's not stupid. Every fan knows it. Every player on that pitch that's going out on Thursday. Sorry, I keep saying the weekend. Every player that goes out on that pitch on Thursday has to be of the mentality that this team is bottom of the league, and we need to beat them. That's it. Simple as that. We have to beat them.
yeah. Uh, I think we have to win, and I think we have to start going on that trend that we keep on talking about, getting the run of results. And yeah, like I think we always, for example, a few weeks back when we looked at the fixtures that we had, we were always like, okay, we won't be able to do that because we have Liverpool away, we have
Yeah.
Arsenal away, we have City away. But like all of those are out of the way now. Now we can go. Like
Mm-hmm.
we can beat Southampton, we can beat Brighton, we can beat West Ham, we can win our Europa League games. If you get like 5, 6 wins on the bounce, winnable games, then yeah, everything
Yeah.
starts to change. Confidence starts to build up. Momentum is becomes there. So yeah, we have to. It has to start with this one because we've done really
Yeah.
well for the past 2 games, but this is when it actually counts.
This is almost a perfect game for us to start a winning streak against bottom of the league in the Premier League at home. Like it is the one that kind of that you need to kickstart everything. So the next games, just looking at this, we've got it's Southampton at home, then it's United, then it's Brighton at home, then it's Rangers at home, then it's Fulham away, FCSB away, Palace at home, Leicester at home. And as you said before, and then we get into February and it's like Spurs and Everton away. But as you said before, those tough games or the tougher games that we were considering, they're done now. This is it. Now's the time to lay down the marker, get some confidence back, and I think they will. I think they will. And I'm going to say 3-0 minimum. What do you reckon?
Honestly, I just we need to get 3 points no matter how. Uh, I'm gonna go for a 2-0. I
Okay.
want a routine one, like just a routine one, 2-0, like Bruno gets one or
Yeah.
something, and just like a comfortable evening for the players. Maybe rest some players for the weekend. So Yeah, like you said, it's a perfect game. Yeah, it's a team that I think arguably could go down as one of the worst teams to ever be in the Premier League
Yeah,
ever since it started. Um,
yeah.
and they don't have
Us, you're
anyone.
talking about us. You're talking about United.
I mean, I can be, yeah. Both it works for both of them. But like usually those lower teams, they always have this player that you could look at and okay, he could be a danger man. But yeah, even
Yeah.
Southampton, maybe you could talk about Tyler Dibbling, but even him is still very raw. So
Yeah.
like I said, it's a perfect game for us to push on.
Who would be your FPL pick this week? Let's because obviously Ahmad is the option, but who's like a dark horse out of this United team that you think could be a good asset this week?
I don't know. Honestly, I brought in Bruno. It's not like
Right.
exactly a dark horse, but yeah, I think he's a good option to have.
I think he counts because I think he's been off the boil in terms of FPL, and I think his ownership is quite low. So yeah, he could be a decent one. My one was going to be Maguire.
Do you think he scores?
I think he keeps the clean sheet, and I think yeah, from a corner he might get up there and do something. Just one thing that we did miss from the Arsenal thing when we was talking about that earlier is Lisandro Martinez playing up front for the last 10 minutes
Yeah,
of injury time of extra time. Sorry, because I think
yeah.
he was injured. I
I
think
think
he
he
was
was
injured.
cramping up. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
also read somewhere that they actually like part of Amra's thinking was because when Arsenal brought on Tierney, Kieran Tierney
yeah,
on the left, he was gonna keep on spamming crosses, targeting Lisandro. So that's when Lisandro just like he left the box and he was like playing up top just to stop those crosses as well when we're defending, which is actually
yeah.
yeah, like it would be very smart to be honest, and it worked.
Again, in-game management from Amorim. Hopefully, we see more of that against Southampton on Thursday. Right then, there we have it. It's the end of another podcast. Thanks again for listening, and do check out our YouTube, Fergie's Gum Pod, and our Blue Sky, where we do post on there. Right? I've been posting. Have you been posting?
No, to be
I'm
honest.
gonna I'm gonna finish every podcast shaming you in front of the listeners, whether you've been posting or not. I'm only joking. But no, thanks again for listening. Thanks for subscribing. I massively appreciate it. And we will speak to you again after the Southampton game.